Welcome back. Just a quick one. Just remember, we have the daily quiz of the day. We've had this run throughout last weekend. Winners have been made. I told you, I forgot. I saw a winner coming the other day. I was so excited. I couldn't pick up my gift. But let's run through what the quiz of the day is. It is to tell us who the presenters for Sports Cafe Ronson to do on STV is. You tell us on Facebook.
It is so embarrassing that you're mentioning names you haven't seen on Sports Cafe. You're mixing them up with names you have seen on Sports Cafe.
So there are only two names, right?
There are three names.
Three names, okay.
Two or three names.
Two or three names.
We could get you, that gift.
All right. You got to be sure, because I see people putting names of people who are no longer with us.
All right. You must really miss them.
All right. So there, I'll put out the question on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Silverbird Television, and
three names.
Go and respond to two or three names. Let's make it clear. How many
so
names?
if you get two, because
if you get two, you're okay.
Yes, you get two. There's supposed to be two guys and one girl. So just tell us who you've been seeing. And one of them is a regular on Today on STV. He just won't let us
him too many clues.
Because they didn't get it the first.
All right. So that's it. So put out the question. We'll announce the winners, hopefully, before the end of the show. So once again, the presenters on Sports Cafe. Tell us who the presenters are. Put out the answer on Facebook. So discussion for today. Gbubemi Atimomo is joining us this fine morning, a HR consultant, as well as into many other things also too. But more importantly, we're going to be having a discussion on the issues about job performance, evaluation, of course, more importantly, to job hunting. We're discussing just before the show the fact that you had over 4 million people who lost jobs last year. And they're probably thinking, how do we go about job hunting? The first thing they should know. I already know one of the tips I tell women will tell me for what are the what are the things you should know for job hunting. I tell you,
because you know him.
The truth is that he knows everybody. If after the show I tell you that you mentioned one or two people, he knows them probably, because he knows networking. He networks like nobody else in this world networks. So I can put the expo out networking with the first thing. I'm not joking. I mean, all the way from childhood up to adult life, people that we didn't know probably he knows everybody. So tell us, if you're going to be job hunting, what are the issues before we get into the evaluation of what you're doing presently? What are the things you should look at?
Okay, thank you very much for having me at first. One of the most important things about looking for a job is getting the word out, letting people be aware that you're looking for a job. That's on the one hand. And then also taking advantage of technology tools. So the internet is a very, very useful tool for job hunting, but not many people really know that. I've discovered in my experience that a lot of people say, oh, Gbubemi, I'm looking for a job. Can I send you my CV? The truth of the matter is, and I always tell them, if you send me your CV, I'll forget in the next 1 hour. And that's literally the story for almost everyone else. Partly because almost everyone else is telling me the same thing. So people need to get a lot more creative. So I say people need to, like I said, looking at the internet first, people need to take advantage of social media. So LinkedIn is a very, very good tool for professional networking, add people up, influencers, follow people, HR officers, HR managers in organizations. Probably. Also follow companies as well, because a lot of companies also post their vacancies on LinkedIn. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are also quite useful, because you find out that a lot of people are also passing information across. One other key thing I always tell people is to always make sure that they're in a form of association, some form of group. So an old boys network, for example, former colleagues work group. You need to be able to keep in touch with people, because many times companies don't really advertise positions. Look at the cost of placing an advert in a newspaper, for example, 600, 700,000 to look for one person. Many companies won't spend that amount of money.
Sorry, is the Guardian still? Everyone people to go buy pick Tuesday.
Exactly. So I find it strange now when people say things like, "Oh, they're still waiting for
a Tuesday
Guardian or something." I'm like, the life has moved on. The information you need is with someone else. You just need to find that person.
The thing with Tuesday Guardian, they always say that if it's a small caption, that job is going to pay well. So, how do you target the right paying jobs online?
Well, I'm not even really a fan of looking in the papers. Like I said, a lot of the jobs, okay, if you take an analysis of the kind of jobs that are posted in newspapers, many of them are government agencies, regulatory bodies, because they have to do that sort of thing, which is fine. But the amount of competition to get those kind of jobs are usually very steep. Now, if you look at the informal sector, informal means of job hunting, talking to people, like I said, making sure that you remain in some form of association, it's a whole lot easier for you to find more quality opportunities. So someone says, for example, oh, our marketing team lead has resigned, you know, we need someone else. Do you know anyone who's qualified? You know, so it's easy for them to say, oh, I have a friend who's XYZ, blah, blah, blah. I can ask him and send you his CV. And in a month, 6 weeks, that position is taken. But that position was probably never officially advertised. So a lot of people need to get, you know, in touch with other people. It can't be overemphasized. Like he said, networking is really very key. And then collaboration as well. It's important. I say loosely, collaboration is sort of like scratch my back, I scratch your back. So if I provide you information, you provide me information. Not necessarily.
Some people are hoarders. How do you deal with hoarders?
When it happens, how do I put this? I've gotten accustomed to sharing information that I get. And I'm always constantly surprised when people always say, oh, thank you for sharing, thank you for sharing. I'm like, that's the normal thing to do.
No, it's not. It's a normal thing to do, but not normally done.
Exactly. Yeah. So you find out that a lot of people are benefiting from information and are not passing it across. Well, you don't concentrate on those kind of people. You concentrate on the kind of people like you. Probably. The kind of people that can get you the information that you want. But the reality is, it's not just about getting the information. It's about being prepared to take advantage. And
that's where I want us to look to how do you position yourself to get the best. You know, it's one thing for you to have the right CV. It's another thing for you to know your worth. So how do you begin to position yourself for the job of your dreams and understand your worth? Because when you get in there and you do clinch it, you're fantastic at the interview. You're going to tell us the interview tips as well, and the application tips and all of that. And you're fantastic, and they give you 50,000 naira. Now you're so desperate, but you're worth much more than 50,000 naira, but you take it.
Okay. There are many sides to the issue. One of the first things I always tell people is to focus on developing skills as against just getting a job for the sake of a job. Now, what that simply means is if you focus on developing your skills, you can transit from job to job. So I'll give you an example. When 2018 now, about 4 or 5 years ago, being on social media or digital media was not a career path. You know, nobody really saw the value, at least here, in saying that you were a social media professional or a digital media professional. Now, if I was the sort of person who was, you know, very active online, knew when to post messages online, knew what kind of messages to post to get what kind of results, and I focused on developing that skill, then I would be prepared to be a social media professional when the opportunity came. Now, I can also take that information and take it into, for example, data analysis. Because whether I know it or not, I've also developed that skill in enhancing my social media capacity. So when people focus a lot more on developing their skills, then the chances of them getting the kind of job that they want is higher. Now, there's also, like you said, the potential of you getting a job that pays far less than your worth. And then, like you said, you get desperate, quote unquote. I always tell people not to act from the point of desperation. It's important that you emphasize what it is that you want. Now, it's possible that the company may not be able to pay you more than they're offering. So then the choice is yours. Do you take that job?
Can I just skim you as well?
Not necessarily.
There's a possibility?
There's a possibility, but not necessarily. The whole idea is people, job seekers and even employers need to be able to think from both sides of the chair. So the job seeker needs to be able to think like the employer, and the employer needs to think like the job seeker. Because ultimately, when you get into an interview situation, for example, both of you are trying to attract each other. But the reality is that many job seekers view it from the point of them trying to attract the employer. So you find many people yielding to all sorts of things, you know, ponying up to the interviewers at interview, and then giving the interviewer the upper edge.
And they always talk about the bargaining power of the person who's been interviewed. You know, because two people going for an interview, one person is earning more than the other. And they say, you probably didn't bargain well.
Probably the guy earns more than the woman.
Yeah, in cases where, you know, it's national media, you know, as the guy's talking about, where the men are taking home a lot more than the women, which isn't fair.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about?
The bargaining, sorry, the bargaining part. Because, you know, when I talk about you not knowing your worth, it's also about bargaining power. You're there, they're offering you this, but they can afford more because somebody who is filling that same position is probably offered more and taking home more. Only when you start your job do you realize that I could have asked for more.
Well, I always say if you want to ask for more, ask for more. Negotiation is a skill, and we all need to learn it. Definitely someone else is probably likely to negotiate better than you, whether they're a man or a woman. You know, but I've always been of the philosophy that if I'm in an interview situation and I've negotiated for a role and I've agreed for a role and I resume and I find out that it's possible I could have gotten more, that's life.
Exactly.
You take what you've got and you prove that you are worth more on the job.
So let's talk about the role of the internet. You said earlier that people should take advantage of the internet. You mentioned LinkedIn, but not everyone is on LinkedIn. Now, there are cases whereby there's the Facebook or, you know, some other social media platforms will advertise a job, and then you get to that place and they're not real, you know, they're fake people, and in some cases the girls are molested or are duped or something like that. And in some other cases, okay, there was an incident where I got a text message like 2 days after my parents got the same text message saying come to a particular location and all of that, but that never existed. You know, how can people decipher between the good jobs or the real jobs and the fake ones?
First of all, that address that they put there, you know,
I don't know how they even get numbers.
Hold on. There's that stuff on the internet that we see that you can, is it GPS address? You can enter it and show you the physical location. So if you enter that location and you see that it's a marketplace, for example.
What are you going to do that?
I've gotten one of those messages before. The location is a Ikeja.
What I always say anyway is I've gotten tons and tons of text messages. And if I cannot verify the company's identity online, I don't even bother. You know, because there's always a risk. If that text message is forwarded from someone else, then I would expect that that person has first-hand information about the company or the source of the text message. So I would rely on that and confirm from them. Otherwise, I just tell people not to.
But how do they even get numbers of people to send the messages or the emails of people to send messages?
Well, people lose phones, for example.
Okay.
Numbers can be copied off. People, you know, aggregate numbers for databases, which unfortunately, unethically, lots of people also share. So it's possible that that's how they get numbers.
Who is also a trainer too. So fantastic that we can also look at, for example, people who have jobs and resuming work. Employers and employees are looking at how they can get the best from the employers and also from the employees, maybe in terms of better pay at the end of the day. You're also a trainer, so you can tell us the areas, for example, you think people who are working, for example, can improve in this new year, and so get better evaluation and performance and more, hopefully better pay.
Okay, the first thing about personal development is that a lot of employees always wait for their employers to provide training opportunities, mentoring opportunities, whatever opportunities. But that's the wrong approach. Because ultimately, the only thing you have as an employee is your career. So if you don't take first place in developing your career for yourself, then you're going to be shortchanging yourself. Because you get to the point where it's possible that people who are junior to you, or even your peers, get promoted above you. And then you begin to scream, oh, I've been marginalized, this is not fair, blah, blah, blah. But they've done some other things that you haven't done. So one of the first things I tell people is take charge of your personal development. You know, look for training opportunities. There's so many online and offline. Even online, you have a lot of free training opportunities. Look for mentoring opportunities. Look to people that can that can mentor you, people who can teach you new skills. Also, you need to be active in, like I said, forms of professional associations, because from there you get to meet other people, you get to learn a lot. So back to your question, the sort of skills that I would say people should focus on in this new year. It depends on your job, for example, but one of the core foundational skills that people should look at is more in terms of personal workplace skills. So things like writing, communication, presentation, all those skills are typically always generic across all sorts of jobs. So those are the kind of skills that people should really focus on getting. You know, and the reality is when you weigh technical skills as against personal workplace skills, the higher you go, the less important your technical skills become. So you also need to focus on things like leadership, facilitation, teamwork, team building, those sorts of things.
All right.
Emotional intelligence as well.
Emotional?
Yes.
Intelligence.
What's emotional intelligence?
Okay, emotional intelligence is, first of all, understanding yourself at the basis level, understanding yourself, so that you find it easier to be able to understand other people and then work
a good quality for a leader. Now, I see that you did entrepreneurship and innovation from a UK university. Yeah. Now, bringing that to the workplace, people are always looking for an extra source of income because they say you can never get rich from one source of income. That's what some people believe. Now, tell us, as an HR person, what are your thoughts on having that side hustle, being an entrepreneur and then having your regular 9 to 5 where you're working under somebody?
Okay, it's interesting that you said that because sometime last year I sort of started an initiative. So
last year was just a few hours ago.
Well, almost 1 year now. Called Side Hustle NG. Okay. Because I realized that a lot of employees are always looking for ways either to express themselves differently from work or to make more money. They may not necessarily be looking to start a business, but they're looking to earn more money. But I realized that a lot of employers are not really predisposed towards their employees having a side hustle, which in my opinion is a disadvantage. Because the reality is, and which is one of the, like I'd say, hypothesis, something I've always believed while growing up. You always need something on the side, a hobby, an interest to make your life a whole lot more rounded. If all you do is wake up and go to work in the morning and come back at night, then, that's it for you. But you need to look for ways whereby you can express your interests. Now, if you look at, there's one of the bank, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention. Okay. No. There's a bank in Nigeria that I was surprised, allows their staff to declare other interests. So you have your normal day job, but you can have a farm or a company or whatever, as long as you declare that interest upfront, so they are aware that this is what you do. So what that does is, if I, for example, if I have a farm and my day job, and everybody knows officially that I have a farm, it behoves on me to make sure that I am 100% on my job. Because any slacking, anything will be attributed to my side hustle.
And you said supply the office with eggs and
chicken. Just before we round off, a lot of people lost their job in 2017. Yeah. And of course, those who have their jobs won't want to lose it if they don't have a backup plan. Now, for those who feel miserable in their offices, how can they, manage to stay put? Of course, their bosses might be very not nice to them, and they want to stay back on the job because, they have no other plan B. How can they manage to stay put in the job despite all the hassles going on in the office space?
Okay, the first thing is don't stay put in the job.
In the job,
yes.
So how do you pay
your bills? If you don't like a job and you are managing, it's going to affect your emotional health, ultimately. So what you need to do is have a plan. What is it that you want to do? Do you want to get another job? In spite of the fact that 4 million people lost their jobs last year, you'd be surprised to find out that their jobs are getting advertised all the time, and there's no one taking those jobs. So like I said, the flow of information is key. Possessing the right skills for those kind of jobs is key. Education as well. So what I would suggest is have a plan. Decide, do you want to transit into another job? Do you want to transit into a business? But you must do something actively to make sure that you're following whatever your career path is.
Thank you very, very much. We had a great discussion. See if Vicky is smiling from ear to ear. Well, I don't know why, but
this is smiling.
Gbubemi Atimomo, HR consultant, trainer, as well as an entrepreneurship advocate. Thank you very much for coming on the show. You can follow him on social media. I guess Vicky and Smile and Zika smiling.
I'm smiling.
Is this a smile?
Because of,
it was.
Yeah, because of the
what we've gotten from him.
Wife hunting and husband hunting. I think he probably has.
Who is husband?
I'm not skilled in that area.
As in, excuse. You see, that is a woman is complete without a man. Tell him.
That's debatable.
Maybe send.
They're on the same page.
Not for this platform.
Maybe St. Rhymes, our spoken word poet, can tell us about that when he comes in. He's doing some brand of spoken word right after this.